How's it, fellow modelers? Welcome back to the Be Creative YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to talk about a gap filling filler that I use quite regularly. Right, well, let's have a look and see. The conventional putties are things like Milliput. Green Stuff Worlds has their green stuff. Vallejo have their acrylic plastic putty. Now these are very useful. They do the job that they are supposed to. The only difference is, the only thing that I've found with most of these is you do tend to get a little bit of shrinkage. So you've got to go back and you've got to redo, or you've got to reapply, or put a little bit more, so you don't have that sort of like shrinkage where you got a little bit of a sink mark. Also with Milliput and Green Stuff World, the green stuff, it takes a very long time to dry and to cure before you can actually start working with it and sanding it and getting on with building your model. So I'm going to put these aside. I'm going to talk to you about what I use. It's a very quick method. Dries very quickly. It also has the characteristics of being a bonder, so it actually helps bond the surfaces together to make it stronger. To start off with, you need a super glue. Preferably get one that's a slow drying. This one is Loctite's 60-second all-purpose super glue. Highly recommend it to anybody. Next, you're going to need some talcum powder. This is Johnson's baby powder, or if you want, you can go to the art stores. They have a specific type of talcum powder which is also ideal. Don't use other brands other than Johnson's or the one that is sold at the art stores. Okay. The properties are different, and it's not going to work. It'll work, but it's not going to be as effective as what I'm going to show you here. Next, you're going to need a toothpick. That's to help mix it. Need a little bit of a surface. I've got an old sort of like video card that I use to mix the stuff on. Also, if you want, you can also have a sort of like a spatula type of thing to help spread it out evenly. Okay, so that's also useful. Next, you're going to need a little bit of acetone. Now, the acetone is basically for if you get some super glue or some of this gap filling super glue onto an area that you don't want to have covered, then you just use a cotton swab, dip it in the acetone, and you just wipe it away. Simple as that. Next, you're going to need some sandpaper or your sanding sponges. That's for when it's dry and you now want to sand it to a nice smooth finish. Now, as I said, the advantage of this is it helps bond the surface so that it adds to the strength of the actual joining of pieces. It's also very easy to sand. If you take normal super glue and you put it on a surface and you wait for it to dry and then you start to sand, you spend a lot of time actually sanding before you actually start making, and before you start noticing the difference. With this stuff, what the talcum powder does is it actually helps to make the sanding process a lot easier. And you'll see in the demo, when I actually sand it, how quickly it is to sand this gap filling super glue that I'm going to show you how to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, one thing that you will need, of course, is your model subject with whatever gaps that you need to fill. Masking tape is also something that you could use. I use masking tape that if I need to just fill in a seam line over here, then I put masking tape all around the area, so that when I'm actually applying this this filler super glue, I'm only getting it onto the area where I actually want it to be. So I'm going to give this a little bit of pause, then I'm going to get on with showing you how to mix it, how to apply it, and then eventually getting on to the sanding process. Right, I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to mix this super glue filler. As you can see on the little video card or credit card or whatever piece of plastic or surface that you want to mix it on, I've scooped out a little bit of the talcum powder, and right next to it I'm squeezing out some super glue, the gel type super glue, onto the surface. You'll also notice that I've masked off areas on the model where I don't want the super glue filler to actually go into. Basically, you're covering up rivet or panel line detail or raised surface detail. Then you're going to grab your toothpick and you're going to move the talcum powder into the actual super glue that you've just squeezed out. Mix it around till you start forming a type of paste. Okay, now the talcum powder is going to make sanding easier. So the more you add, the more talcum powder you add, the easier it is going to be to sand. But also remember that the more talcum powder you add, the thicker the paste is going to be. So don't add too much talcum powder, because you want to be able to kind of like place the filler into the gap and actually have time to sort of work it in to sort of like even it out a lot easier. Now once you've mixed enough of the talcum powder into the super glue and you've got a consistent, the paste or the filler is sort of like a consistency that's easy to work and manage, then you're going to then start applying it to the actual model itself. Now the way you do that is you basically scoop up some with your mixing stick or your modeling tool or spatula, and you're going to dab it into the actual surface of the model. So you're going to dab it into the gap. You're going to put it in and you're going to push it into the actual gap so that it fills the gap. Okay. Once you've filled up the gap, you then add a little bit more extra on the top to sort of like level it out, and then you scrape it clean to sort of like level it out. There's no need to rush this process either, because we're using a slow setting super glue or gel type super glue, so the drying time is a little bit longer. As you can see, I'm dabbing it in, just adding little bit by little bit, kind of like layering it in, making sure that there's no air pockets or air bubbles inside the actual super glue filler. And when you finished filling in the gaps or the seams that you want to fill in, it's preferable to remove the masking tape before the super glue has completely dried. I didn't record this, but yeah, remove the masking tape before it's completely dry. Then put it one side, leave it for an hour, come back, and then we can get started with sanding. As you can see, there's where I've applied the super glue filler. I'm starting with a 320 grit sandpaper, Just gently sanding, don't put pressure, just let the sandpaper do the work, After I did the 220, I then went on to a 320 grit sandpaper, and then onto a 400 grit sandpaper to sort of like smooth it out a little bit more. But as you can see, I'm not putting a lot of pressure, and I've already gotten through more than half of what filler I had actually applied. Just gently sand it. As you can see, it is very easy to sand it. And here I am now doing the final stages of sanding, using a 400 grit sandpaper to smooth out the surface to a nice even smooth finish. This has taken me approximately 8 to 10 minutes just to do this. Not applying a lot of pressure, just light sanding, letting the sandpaper do its work. And as you can see, it has filled the gap and it has been sanded to a nice, smooth, even finish. Right, let's do a quick recap. What do you need? You need superglue, preferably a gel type or slow setting superglue. You need talcum powder or baby powder, available at arts and crafts stores or your local supermarket or pharmacy. Toothpick or mixing sticks. This is to help mix the superglue and talcum powder together. Putty knife or spatula type tool. This is to apply the superglue filler and spread it out evenly. Masking tape to cover up all panel line and rivet detail that you don't want covered with the superglue filler. Acetone. Dip a cotton bud into the acetone and just wipe away any superglue filler that you might have messed in areas that you don't want. And lastly, sandpaper, sanding sticks or sponges. This is to sand the surface area to a nice smooth finish. So what's so good about this superglue filler? Well, number one, it's very easy to mix. Number two, it's got a quick drying and curing time. Number three, it adds to the bonding strength. Number four, there's absolutely no shrinkage, unlike conventional modeling putties that are on the market these days. Number five, it's easy to sand, buff and polish to a smooth finish. And lastly, number six, you can rescribe panel lines and add rivet detail without compromising the integrity of the filler. So that concludes this little video presentation on gap filling superglue. Hit that like button and leave a comment. Coming soon is part 3 of the Mirage 3 CZ video build. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. Go to that little notifications bell, tap on that notifications bell, and you'll get an update as soon as it's been uploaded. So in closing, I want to say to you, go out there, be inspired, be imaginative, and most of all, be creative.